All right, we are here in the most amazing place I've ever seen museum at the WHAM Museum, the Washington Antique Aerospace or Airplane Museum here in Hood River, Oregon. Just flew up here this morning, 3.5 hours in the Husky, good tailwind. You got to see this place. I'm going to just do a quick, we're just going to do a quick flyby of the inside of this museum here. The fly-in's happening outside, but right now they're allowing all of us pilots just to come on up here and take a look at this incredible collection. So we're at the WHAM Museum at Hood River, Oregon, and look at that. We've got a collection of World War I airplanes right here. Here's a Curtiss Jenny, OX-5 powered, a huge wooden prop. Let's see, which way should I go? I think we'll kind of start this way and then we'll go back. We got here a Sopwith. Help me out, Bruce. What are we looking at here?
It's a Sopwith Camel.
This is a Camel? Okay. Sopwith Camel with the genuine rotary engine. It's the pup. It's the Sopwith pup. So for those of you unfamiliar, the rotary engines of World War I would rotate with the propeller, creating a huge gyroscopic, there you go. There's an example of it right there. Huge gyroscope. Amazing engines. And they didn't have throttles. They had interrupter switches to interrupt the ignition to slow the engine down when it came into land. Problem is, when you interrupted the engine, the castor oil, total loss castor oil system would continue to flow, and when you fired it back up, kablamo, they caught on fire frequently and made out of wooden fabric. That's where the expression came to shut up and die like an aviator. So look at those thin airfoils on the Sopwith pup, one of the best fighter designs of World War I. This place is just chock full of priceless antique aircraft. So let's just do a quick flyby of some of this for you. We'll come back and do a more detailed overview of this museum here in the future when we've got more time. What on earth is that? That looks like a Myers design of some sort. We'll come back and look at the placard. We got a pusher. Looks like the 1910 Curtiss pusher. This is where Glenn Curtiss got in the argument about the ailerons.
Oh.
Who designed the ailerons first? Wright brothers and Curtiss had a big battle going on. Waco cabin class, 1938 Waco UIC. Got a lot of beautiful aircraft outside today that have flown in here to Hood River. 1931 Waco RNF. The Waco aircraft have more designs than any other manufacturer I can think of. Here is a 1930 Waco INF with the Kenner radial engine. Here's a 1932 Waco UBA. Yeah, let's keep that. When we go down this row here, we got the Kenner Bird. You can always tell it's a bird, Kenner Bird, by looking at that landing gear there. Yeah, these are all real rag wings. Here, I bet you this is an Eagle Rock. Crider Rationer Challenger C2 Fairchild. Yeah, lots of Wacos back there. Lincoln. 1930 Lincoln PTK. 1929 Waco CSO. $1921 Aristocrat. Never heard of that before. That looks like a monocoupe. Nope. A Wallace Touraplane. Where'd they get these crazy designs? Man. There's some familiar looking Pipers, interstate cadets, and that sort of thing. Isn't this a bull pup? Yep, bull pup. There it is. Finally one I recognized. Is that the Zeekley, little 3-cylinder Zeekley engine? Yeah. Yeah, it's the weekend of the WHAM American Eagle craft. The Hood River Flying, which used to be the Evergreen Flying when Wally Olson was around. And Wally's Jenny is in a museum across the way. Now there's a Piper Cub with the 3-cylinder, 30 horsepower, it says here, Lenap Papoose engine. They'll pull these airplanes out and fire them up and run them too. That's why they all got drip pans underneath here. These are flying museum pieces. A Spartan from 1931. A Jacobs had a 3-cylinder. Wow. Curtis Wright Jr. Yeah, we've seen these before. Look at what is that? A Model A on set up for snow. Now there's a whole nother wing over there, but I want to get back to I want to get back over here. We're going to keep rolling.
Oh yeah, right down there.
So if you're just joining us, we're at the WHAM Western Antique Aviation Museum in Hood River, Oregon. Just the most amazing collection of antique aircraft you've ever seen. And most of these do fly. Here's the event that we're attending today right here. And they do take your donation if you like to see these antiques keep going. Let's see, we made it down this row of Wacos. Let's go see what they got away over here. There's a whole bunch of other memorabilia. Bicycle. Man, what do we got here? 1929 Aero biplane. That looks like a Fairchild, yep. C7B, Fairchild 22. Look at the old Harleys. The old flatheads. The Cannonball Run. 1933 VLE Harley. Here's a Travel Air. 1928 Travel Air, great biplane. Still a great ride hopper today. Huh, look at that. Is that a Great Lakes? Wow. One of the early Great Lakes, yeah. With the radial engine. A Fleet Model 7. Look at this, real air racing from back in the day. Well, that ain't very real. A Dart. Oh, don't do that, boys. 1930 Davis. Curtis Wright. There's that Eagle Rock. I think we made that one. All right, got those over there. I'm already lost in this museum. What do we got over here? We got a whole 2 rows of antique sailplanes right there. But I got to show you the most amazing one of them all right at the beginning of the museum. The world's oldest Boeing aircraft and a beautiful restoration of it. That looks like an Airmaster. Is that a Funk? A Henderson Longster? What is that guy? Yep, that's the Funk Model B. And the Aero F. And that looks like a Pete and Pole of sorts. Yep, a Pete and Pole Sky Scout. So before they had the Pete and Pole Air Camper, they had the experimental Sky Scout that you could build from plans. Just a 1-seat design with a Model A engine for very, very cheap. a bunch of the old one-lungers over here. Okay, let's go find this Boeing. So if you're just joining us, we're at the WHAM Museum in Hood River, Oregon. My first time ever inside this building, and this just blows my mind. They're having their annual fly-in, and flew up here in the Husky this afternoon and had a real nice flight. Okay, how do we get over there? Can we get there from here? Yeah, okay, good. Look at the size of this. So now we've got this amazing collection of vintage mailed planes, mostly Boeing aircraft. We'll get the specs on this once we get around to the front of it. Here's how they ran the mail locally here through the Columbia River through a series of beacons. Flying these sort of aircraft with the mail in the front and the pilot in the back, and it's starting to lose its focus a little bit. There's one of the example beacon lights there that ran along the Columbia River Gorge. Okay, this is a 1929 Stearman, Bull Stearman they call it. With a Pratt & Whitney 1690 600 horse radial engine. And we got this model of Stearman, smaller. The 1928 Stearman C3B. Again, these are flying aircraft. They're operational. Here's another Boeing Stearman. The 1927 C2. Liquid cooled. Western Express Air. A round engine Stearman. The model 4D. There's your gas truck, and this is the grand dam of them all right here. The 1928 Boeing Model 40C. They flew this about this time last year. I think it's got a more modern, probably a 985 engine on it. But this was involved in a crash here in Oregon. See, it was built in 28, and I think it was crashed. What do you say, crashed in 28? And it was crashed here in Oregon. And the amazing part of this find was that, well, the airplane sat there for years and years and years, and they recovered what little bits and pieces they could, and then they basically restored it from scratch. But what was the deal? What was the
They were carrying diamonds.
Diamonds.
A whole bunch of diamonds, and people would go ahead and filter the dirt looking for the diamonds to see, and they found some, and they laid out there for a lot of years. So people had gold screens out there looking for the diamonds.
And
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And they found some of the diamonds that the passenger was carrying, I suppose, as part of his manifest, the Boeing 40C. So see where the pilot, we'll show you back here, the pilot would sit way in the back, and the passengers and the cargo would be way up in the front. So I suppose mail and such would fit right up in here. Now check out that big old fat airfoil. Passengers in back here, inside the fuselage, like the structure. Look at that. You got a phone and a ringer. Ring them up front. More passengers right there. But at least they were inside, out of the weather. And then the pilot operated back here. Right there. So the pilot had to deal with the weather. They figured they needed to be out in the weather to be able to fly the airplane. And just an amazing restoration. Map box. Wow.
Well, the person that restored it was Addison Pemberton. He's here. He flew in and
Here's Bill Boeing. Bill Boeing right there. Pilot Grant Donaldson shaking his hand. And here's Addison Pemberton shaking the hand of Bill Boeing Jr. Huh. Wow. Boeing's legacy. Look at that. From this to the 787. That's the this is the 777's legacy right here.
This
Wow.
is the guy that knows the diamond story.
Yeah, say again the diamond story. So they crashed and they had some diamonds or something on board, or
Yeah, the pilot was badly injured in the crash but survived. The passenger was a diamond salesman. He was killed. And I was told that when they visited the site in connection to the restoration, that there were screens with wooden borders laying under the ground. They had screened the earth for diamonds, and supposedly they found at least 2.
And as far as what was left of the airplane, there wasn't much left. I suppose a data plate and
it at least partially burned. Mr. Pemberton told me they used about 35 small pieces in the restoration. But what made it possible was the fact that they got the manufacturer's nameplate, and with that they could do the whole restoration.
So they got the data plate, and from that you could build a whole nother.
You could restore it. They're not rebuilding it.
You could restore using those 30 little bits of what was once the airplane. Thank you so much. What an amazing museum. Let me see if I can flip this around. So that's it. The giant Boeing mail planes, the predecessor of the Boeing 777, the oldest Boeing left around at all, I think, anywhere today.
And Scott, one of the guys in the picture.
So check it out, the WHAM Museum in Hood River, Oregon.
One of his
You
planes.
can donate and keep this museum, help to keep this museum going. A lot of these aircraft do continue to fly. We're gonna join the festivities out here. Stay tuned. We'll get you some live feeds, maybe from outdoors. They'll get some old airplanes going. Thanks so much for your support. We'll see you here.
Over the Columbia River at 1,700 feet, overflying the airport.